gamification, games in general. How does this matter to brands? It's child play, isn't it?
Interesting. So I've been on EA.
Oh, introduce yourself.
Oh, my name's Ardalan, Media and Analytics Strategist at Intel. We're down the road. So I think around the same time that you joined, about a dozen folks at our firm and our direct marketing and strategy teams joined, and we decided we wanted to have fun. So why did we join? We try to experience a new social something basically a couple times a quarter. Quora, EA, other networks, just to see exactly how they work, what's the interaction like, and is there an opportunity for the brand to have a good relationship experience with customers, really, in the end of the day. That makes sense.
How will you measure success? Having fun?
Well, so we don't know about this yet, in reality. And I think some of my questions are going to be around, we also joined as individuals. So as an individual, how does this type of game stay interesting to someone once you've plateaued? Because I think each of us have chosen a certain level of social interaction that we're willing to have. Like, I don't have a YouTube channel, although I might have, a Vimeo channel or something. So there's a certain level of interaction for individuals.
But Intel as a brand is very social.
We are, and so, then the second level question is, what is the unique value that a brand can have with, let's say, direct consumers that we would have on EA that we wouldn't have elsewhere, that we aren't having today? That'd be one thing to explore. Right. Second one would be between brands that are related, or perhaps have some type of affinity.
So here's a question. I'm going to get to the heart of it. What would you want from Dupes that you would give him money for?
Interesting. Okay.
I have about 5,000 shares for sale.
And I mean Empire Avenue. What does Intel want from Empire Avenue? What would you pay for it?
So I think in reality there are two things you're trying to do. One is reach and brand advocacy. And so reach would be, we're a firm that is selling products that we've never sold before. We're a firm who is...
Like a new product.
New products. So Intel will, and is in and is growing into tablets, cell phones, home energy systems. We've now got our chips in automobiles, embedded systems that most of us in this room would never have experienced before. So if we look at the Western markets, the obvious places, many of us might be on our 4th or 5th laptop, desktop. If we go to the emerging markets like Brazil, India, and other places, people are trying to buy products from us potentially for the first time. They don't know us. And so in some of these markets where we do not have a relationship with end customers.
So advertising, is that what you want?
No, well, so in reality, an opportunity and a more active method to build direct relationships.
What about maybe like a virtual good that people could earn or buy that's branded Intel?
Like?
A tablet that says Intel inside, and it produces dividends or something if you earned it.
So that's like the idea of checking into a non-tangible good like the Core 2 Duo chip or something, right? The Core i5. And so I think in reality, if there was a way on EA that people could more actively wish to experience some of our new products in unique ways, and if there was a way that we could have, again, interactions and relationships with people that we can't have on the existing networks, and perhaps have more brand advocates, and we really dig into influencers and have closer influence relationships globally, that in a way that scales. So we were talking 50 countries, we were talking 15 languages, and it's very hard to do these things on a global basis that's consistent.
So anybody who owns Intel shares, do you think they're, what type of influencer do you think they are? Ollie? Do you think they're above the normal person who follows you on Twitter or Facebook?
Well, so we've been doing a lot of analysis on that in-house right now. When we look at all of our Twitter accounts, all of our Facebook accounts, and how many should we have? How many social accounts, depending upon the audience and depending upon what we want people to have a relationship with us, should someone have to consume in order to communicate with us? I think the other side of it, though, is how do we identify great social content that is not ours, that we wish to participate in? And so that's another opportunity, I think. And that, in the end of the day, comes to the influencers. It also looks at how do you amplify others' content that's about you that you didn't know about. That is wonderful. That tells a story that you may not be telling yourself. Because it's one thing for a firm and a brand to issue a press release, to come up with a new campaign or a slogan, but it's another thing for others to do something amazing with your devices, because we're that ingredient brand, and it's so hard for people to, you can't touch and feel Intel in most of these devices.
Right.
especially when you
Never
haven't
seen
bought
the
from us
product.
before. Yeah, you don't see our thing. And so, especially in these international markets, for us, that's, I think, the real challenge as we scale and as we participate in these unique ways.
So question is on a brand perspective, and then we'll bring up Gigya in January as well. Christy.
So, Ali, and I know Intel's very good about dipping into a lot of the different things, and I guess I'm looking at when it comes to budgets, like when do you get to the point that Empire is either a success or you need to move on, and how does that translate, I think, into other companies? Because as an unfunded startup, right, how do they justify the time and the expense needed to build their awareness? But I'll just take it a step back into Intel. Like, how many social networks do you belong to, and how much time investment can you really give to adequately show that you've got the right investment made?
Okay, so centrally our social media strategy team does a lot of work on a handful of the obvious networks. YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. We also, there's certain networks that are regional, like in China and Renren and Mixi and these others, and Southeast Asia, you know. So there's a handful that we actively try to be very proactive and sharp about setting a consistent, holistic strategy that's central, that we scale, that we then more actively manage our brand on. Bringing on a new social network has, as you said, a specific cost. One of the things around Empire App that's interesting is, you know, you link up the RSS feeds for all your blogs. You pipe in your Twitter accounts. You're maintaining those anyway. So in reality, at a certain point, if you don't care about, you know, amassing your wealth, which I'm still trying to figure out what we're going to do with that, is wealth that important right now, right? But in the end of the day, you could, once you plateau and once you get to a point that you find value in, do very little.
Okay, there's one interesting
maintain.
thing. Did you guys know there's a direct marketing component of EA? Yes. I found this. It's really weird. You can message all of your shareholders at a fee.
Yeah, we haven't done that yet.
That's brilliant.
It's interesting.
So here's the model that I think it is. And by the way, I don't have any we have no relationship with EA. So I just think it's fascinating ecosystem experiment. But we're going to have different roundtables, some on mobile, some on advocacy, some on social integration. We were talking about some other ones, Greg, I forget. Health, you know, commoditization of media. So we're going to have lots of roundtables here at Altimeter. And by the way, we'll go for another 20 minutes. And then we can start drinking and finish the food. Which is also fun on Cinco de Mayo. So you can actually, back to the message, you can direct message people, but there's a cost to it. So as you get more shareholders, you don't actually have a direct connection to them, but you can use this tool. And eventually, I bet you that dupes will turn on the ability to do advertising using your money.
We've played around with advertising in the years.
Can you pass on the mic while you...
So it's funny when you actually see where we've come from, because there's a whole pile of things that we've actually taken off, and we were waiting basically, we took them off because we were waiting for some great brands to join us. And the great thing about having some great brands join us is that we can potentially turn those back on and see and experiment with that kind of thing. We actually did exactly what you just mentioned, the first part of what you want. We just didn't see the brands that we wanted at the time. We're a really fast development team, and so we basically kind of put it all together, kind of threw it out, and went, oh well, that didn't work. Took it off.
You guys are in Canada. I don't really know a lot of Canadian web teams. This is really cool.
No, well, you know what? We are in Canada, but we're right across Canada. We're also in Denver. So one of our guys is in Denver. His name is Aaron. Aaron K. White, go buy him. Big A. I love that.
I just wanted to thank Ali for his perspective. By the way, these seats are really for everybody. This is a community thing, so anybody who wants to come up and, you know, with your perspective, whatever. Normally we just wouldn't use the mics, but I just try to make sure it's on you. But so you guys can pass the mic back and forth. But maybe you can introduce yourselves and tell me like how your company's involved with gaming.
Sure. My name is Craig Ferrara. I'm a senior UI designer for a company called Gigya. We're based out of Mountain View. We have a social optimization platform for businesses that they can integrate us onto websites and connect themselves to social media. We are, in fact, releasing a game mechanics platform at the end of June. And we're basically kind of harmonizing social and the social graph with a game mechanics system online for businesses in almost every vertical.
So is it a white label Empire Avenue?
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, no end user will ever be aware of Gigya in that way. I think Empire Avenue actually offers us some pretty unique opportunities for partnerships down the road and things like that. But you know, I'll let this gentleman introduce himself, and then I'd like to go into that a little bit with you, because there's some interesting climates when you start to aggregate social networks and then come across a social network essentially that does the aggregating on their side through things like influence and stock prices. So I think there's some interesting ideas.
And a brand like Intel is going to want the data and the shares to be universal, because the reputation system for consumers need to be consistent. So there might need to be some APIs that pass through EA shares back to the Intel website, because Intel wants to get customers from the social network back to their corporate website closer to transaction point.
Yes, and I also think that Intel would find value in seeing which users they should target based on their stock values, because you've basically come up with an influencer rank for each person. So if the higher the stock value, the more value they are to a brand, because they're going to get your name out there more and network with more people.
So, but in that case, when they come to, since yours is an embeddable piece on Intel.com, theoretically,
yes,
you want to make sure that influence transfers over. Otherwise, Chris Perillo and Scoville will probably have to start on scratch back on Intel.com.
But then there's another angle around. There's influence in social, and then there's influence in the thematic areas that are important to a brand. So someone who's influential in the technology space, who's a thought leader in the, we call it the compute continuum. I'm going to have this device in my pocket, in the car, in the house, in the whatever. Those are influencers that we may value in certain business units at a much higher degree than.
So you don't care about Justin Bieber?
Well, no, I didn't say that. But again, there's different levels of value you may reach out to. Who's our new brand ambassador? Who I am. So there are different levels depending upon the audience and the program and the product and what you want to try to achieve when you're trying to add value in that social interaction, when you're trying to add that value.
And so one of the weird things we provide is the ability to say, if you've only got so much currency, why would they buy into you? And that is a very different. We function very differently when you give people money, even if it's virtual.
Well, the indexes are interesting. Technology versus this versus that. I still haven't quite chewed on whether the index is actually valuable to us yet.
Yeah.
And the roles and the I
you could also
haven't figured that out yet.
You could also apply brand monitoring to the feeds to pull out the keywords of what people are actually talking and tweeting and Facebooking about too.
Can you track brand loyalty based on when a person buys into a brand and how much? So if I have very little money and I'm buying into Intel, does my brand loyalty to Intel go up? Yes, it does.
Yeah. I mean, it also depends on your purchase history.
But are you assuming that somebody buys Intel stock because they love Intel? They might just buy it because they know they're a social brand. They may not even care.
But they might buy it so they
well, it is, absolutely. There's any number of ways why we buy stocks in the real stock market. It's almost a gain it sometimes, not necessarily any knowledge about whether, Intel is actually going to produce the next best chip or not. I'm buying into Intel because I think it's going to make money.
So the other game is also the interaction someone has with you as a brand. And so there's also a whole other set of influencers who are people who, on Facebook, they've joined you, they've been a fan for, let's say, a year, they've had, every month they're engaging with your content calendar, and they have had a maybe more mature engagement. Instead of just liking, they're commenting, they're submitting photos to your contest, and so there's a specific degree of influence within your own relationship base that there's also a desire to fully understand and comprehend and more.
Scott, welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. So my name is Scott Schnars. I run revenue for a company called Badgeville down in Menlo Park. We're a white label social loyalty and rewards platform that allows marketers and brand managers to identify specifically who their users are and reward them for appropriate behaviors in the community.
Good. So tell me why Intel, or I don't know, let's think of another brand. Let's try
Ford.
What are some other brands here?
Ford. I'm not
Ford.
here.
Actually, I have an announcement about Ford. Other than
Well, let's finish this first. Because we're going to come back to you and then we'll talk about this special gift that everybody here gets. Hi, welcome. Let's do Coke. Let's do Coke. Why would Coke want to use Badgeville on their website?
So Coke is an interesting example. Coke has My Rewards, the Coke Rewards program. They would leverage an organization like Badgeville in order to identify who their best customers are based on the behaviors that they're performing inside of their online community, to reward them appropriately for the behaviors that they're doing, and to tie those behaviors to the MyCoke rewards that can be used for both virtual and tangible goods.
Okay. So you have this gaming system for brands to put on their website. For how long have you guys been around?
We were founded about a year ago, and we launched at TechCrunch Disrupt.
Okay. All right. So any questions around these two particular providers?
Are you able to do what you do within a social network and not just on an external place?
.com.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, so the question is can we do it tied to where we're rewarding behaviors that happen inside of Facebook as an example, as well as behaviors that happen on Intel.com?
Consistently across networks for a particular entity.
BeyondCoke.com.
Okay, well, so it's on Zanga, on Facebook, on Twitter, for a consistent, holistic.
A lot of it depends on the specific property that you'd be tying it to. So like Facebook as an example, yes. Foursquare as an example, yes. Other ones that maybe don't have quite as friendly an API, it's a little bit more challenging.
Okay. Any other questions around the other technology pieces? Let's just kind of open it up to this.